is the traditional media doing this because there's always been this fear that traditional media would lose out, especially print, that print is going to die off very soon. There's been different ages, years being put out there that by that time, print in particular will become extinct. Is the traditional media being forced to go this way?
I don't think the traditional media has a choice, because you follow your audiences, right? You go to the places where the people are reading, where they're listening, where they're watching. It's as simple as that. And you have to try and figure out how you get there. Whether it's through if you want to stick to doing the same thing over and over again, fine, but it probably won't work. So, and there's another thing as well, which is the way that the media is perceived. So Vice News, for example, does some very interesting stuff where there was one which they did earlier this year. One of their reporters went with the Nigerian military and was embedded and followed their fight against Boko Haram. Very interesting videos. They released them in 10-minute chunks every week or every day. There was another one which they did in Raqqa, following Islamic State in Raqqa. Very interesting, innovative material. Now, and I spoke to my colleagues about this, and I said, and within a few days, these things racked up millions of views on YouTube. I said to colleagues of mine that if the BBC or CNN did the exact same thing in the exact same format and put it on the internet, it would not get as many views. Because people just don't see it as the media organizations that do that kind of cutting edge material. So it's like it's like the old man trying to do the cool dance. People just think, stop it. Let the young people do the cool dance.
James?
I think Vice is a good example of the focus on content and not really caring about what platform you're on. Because the thing that's really interesting, yes, they've got their own website and some people go to their website, but most people view their things not on a platform that they own or on YouTube. And when they're creating their content, they are thinking of it explicitly in the terms of content that will go places. And I think one of the failures we've seen with a lot of, especially from heritage brands trying to then move into new media, but it's also new media companies starting up. The idea that you build a platform, people will come to your platform, and then you populate your platform with content. I think that's the exact wrong way around, and yeah.
Yeah, I know so far the unofficial agreement, if you like, that we are turning to see, or the trend we're seeing so far is there isn't that much of there's that sense of, I don't know what the correct word to use, but dependence, if you like, or a coexistence, yes, I think that's the best word, coexistence between the traditional and the new media. But there's also the issue of cost, for instance. I was reading an article which says for every $1 that it would cost the traditional media to print, for instance, it costs them just some cents to put it out on the internet for their readers to follow. Should this be a sort of worry for the traditional media?
Let me talk about this in the aspect of scale. So you have a market that is growing, and the larger the market grows, the more the price of the thing comes down. Okay, so let's think about it from a chronological approach. You have, when you think about print, and when print started in the early 1900s, for instance, what it would cost to set up a printing factory. And then technology came and started driving that down, and the radio came into play. And radio too, the same thing. The cost of having a radio in the house for families was expensive. It started going down as well. So, but when I keep going from radio to TV, which their evolution to the internet, and then you have mobile, you see that there is a quick time for things to get cheaper. So the internet used to be expensive, and then all of a sudden it's very cheap to access. So that affects the cost, of what you will spend with media, because then you think about what it would cost you to set up to communicate through that medium. And a good example is how much it will cost to, for instance, push out a TVC in the country as opposed to a YouTube video. Now, same production cost maybe, but distribution, big problem. So with that thinking, you understand that there is a move towards the drive of the cost coming down faster, because we've all realized that the major players have understood that quickly you have to be able to get into the media that is most widely accepted.